what it had been. The coming of David had introduced new elements that promised complications. Not because he was another mouth to feed. Simeon Holly was not worrying about that part any longer. Crops showed good promise, and already in the bank, even now, was the necessary money to cover the dreaded note, due the last of August. The complicating elements in regard to David were of quite another nature. To Simeon Holly, the boy was a riddle to be sternly solved. To Ellen Holly, he was an ever-present reminder of the little boy of long ago, and as such was to be loved and trained into a semblance of what that boy might have become. To Perry Larson, David was the derndest checkerboard of sense and nonsense goin', a game over which to chuckle. At the Holly farmhouse, they could not understand a boy who would leave a supper for a sunset, or who preferred a book to a toy pistol, as Perry Larson found out was the case on the 4th of July, who picked flowers like a girl for the table, yet who unhesitatingly struck the first blow in a fight with 6 antagonists, who would not go fishing because the fishes would not like it, nor hunting for any sort of wild thing that had life, who hung entranced for an hour over the millions of lovely striped bugs in the field of early potatoes, and who promptly and stubbornly refused to sprinkle those same lovely bugs with Paris green when discovered at his worship. All this was most perplexing, to say the least. Yet David worked, and worked well, and in most cases he obeyed orders willingly. He learned much, too, that was interesting and profitable. Nor was he the only one that made strange discoveries during those July days. The Hollys themselves learned much. They learned that the rose of sunset and the gold of sunrise were worth looking at, and that the massing of the thunderheads in the west meant more than just a shower. They learned, too, that the green of the hilltop and of the far-reaching meadow was more than grass, and that the purple haze along the horizon was more than the mountains that lay between them and the next state. They were beginning to see the world with David's eyes. There were, too, the long twilights and evenings when David, on the wings of his violin, would speed away to his mountain home, leaving behind him a man and a woman who seemed to themselves to be listening to the voice of a curly-headed, rosy-cheeked lad who once played at their knees and nestled in their arms when the day was done. And here, too, the Hollys were learning, though the thing thus learned was hidden deep in their hearts. It was not long after David's first visit that the boy went again to the house that Jack built, as the Guernseys called their tiny home, though in reality it had been Jack's father who had built the house. Jack and Jill, however, did not always deal with realities. It was not a pleasant afternoon. There was a light mist in the air, and David was without his violin. "I came to inquire for the cat, Juliet," he began, a little bashfully. "I thought I'd rather do that than read today," he explained to Jill in the doorway. "Good! I'm so glad. I hoped you'd come," the little girl welcomed him. "Come in and see Juliet," she added hastily, remembering at the last moment that her brother had not looked with entire favor on her avowed admiration for this strange little boy. Juliet, roused from her nap, was at first inclined to resent her visitor's presence. In 5 minutes, however, she was purring in his lap. The conquest of the kitten once accomplished, David looked about him a little restlessly. He began to wonder why he had come. He wished he had gone to see Joe Glaspell instead. He wished that Jill would not sit and stare at him like that. He wished that she would say something, anything. But Jill, apparently struck dumb with embarrassment, was nervously twisting the corner of her apron into a little knot. David tried to recollect what he had talked about a few days before, and he wondered why he had so enjoyed himself then. He wished that something would happen, anything, and then, from an inner room, came the sound of a violin. David raised his head. "It's Jack," stammered the little girl, who had also been wishing something would happen. "He plays, same as you do, on the violin." "Does he?" beamed David. "But—" He paused, listening, a quick frown on his face. Over and over the violin was playing a single phrase, and the variations in the phrase showed the indecision of the fingers and of the mind that controlled them. Again and again, with irritating sameness, yet with still more irritating difference, came the succession of notes. And then David sprang to his feet, placing Juliet somewhat unceremoniously on the floor, much to that petted young autocrat's disgust. "Here, where is he? Let me show him," cried the boy, and at the note of command in his voice, Jill involuntarily rose and opened the door to Jack's den. "Oh, please, Mr. Jack," burst out David, hurrying into the room. "Don't you see? You don't go at that thing right. If you'll just let me show you a minute, we'll have it fixed in no time." The man with the violin stared and lowered his bow. A slow red came to his face. The phrase was peculiarly a difficult one, and beyond him, as he knew. But that did not make the present intrusion into his privacy any the more welcome. "Oh, will we indeed?" he retorted a little sharply. "Don't trouble yourself, I beg of you, boy." "But it isn't a mite of trouble, truly," urged David, with an ardor that ignored the sarcasm in the other's words. "I want to do it." Despite his annoyance, the man gave a short laugh. "Well, David, I believe you, and I'll warrant you'll tackle this Brahms concerto as nonchalantly as you did those 6 hoodlums with the cat the other day, and expect to win out, too." "But truly, this is easy when you know how," laughed the boy. "See?" To his surprise, the man found himself relinquishing the violin and bow into the slim, eager hands that reached for them. The next moment he fell back in amazement. Clear, distinct, yet connected like a string of rounded pearls, fell the troublesome notes from David's bow. "You see," smiled the boy again, and played the phrase a second time more slowly, and with deliberate emphasis at the difficult part. Then, as if in answer to some irresistible summons within him, he dashed into the next phrase, and, with marvelous technique, played quite through the rippling cadenza that completed the movement. "Well, by George," breathed the man dazedly, as he took the offered violin. The next moment he had demanded vehemently, "For heaven's sakes, who are you, boy?" David's face wrinkled in grieved surprise. "Why, I'm David. Don't you remember? I was here just the other day." Yes, but who taught you to play like that?" "Father." "Father?" The man echoed the words with a gesture of comic despair. "First Latin, then jiu-jitsu, and now the violin? Boy, who was your father?" David lifted his head and frowned a little. He had been questioned so often and so unsympathetically about his father that he was beginning to resent it. "He was Daddy, just Daddy, and I loved him dearly." "But what was his name?" "I don't know. We didn't seem to have a name like yours down here. Anyway, if we did, I didn't know what it was." "But David," the man was speaking very gently now, He motioned the boy to a low seat by his side.
Oh, hi, Cody. What's
The
up?
little
Sorry.
girl was standing
I'm
near,
not paying
her eyes
attention that
alight
much right
with
now.
wondering interest. He must have
Just
had a
listening to a
name,
book.
you know, just the same.
Well, doing some Bed Wars.
Didn't you ever hear anyone calling him anything? Think now. No. David said the single word and turned his eyes away. It had occurred to him, since he had come to live in the valley, that perhaps his father did not want his name known. He remembered that once the milk and eggs boy had asked what to call him, and his father had laughed and answered, "I don't see, but you'll have to call me the Old Man of the Mountain, as they do down in the village." That was the only time David could recollect hearing his father say anything about his name.
Yo, what's
At the
up?
time, David had not thought much
Yeah.
about it. But
Just
since
chilling.
then, down here, where they appeared to think a name was so important, he had wondered if possibly his father had not preferred to keep his to himself. If such were the case, he was glad now that he did not know this name, so that he might not have to tell all these inquisitive people who asked so many questions about it. He was glad, too, that those men had not been able to read his father's name at the end of his other note that first morning, if his father really did not wish his name to be known. But David, think. Where you lived, wasn't there ever anybody who called him by name? David shook his head. "I told you, we were all alone, Father and I, in the little house far up on the mountain." "And your mother?" Again David shook his head. "She is an angel mother, and angel mothers don't live in houses, you know." There was a moment's pause, then gently the man asked, "And you always lived there?" "6 years, Father said." "And before that?"
He's gonna keep my bed, but that's
"I
fine.
don't remember."
Peak
There was a
SMR,
touch of
ASMR.
injured
Sick.
reserve in the
Yeah,
boy's
I guess.
voice, which the
I
man
don't
was
know. I didn't
quick
really
to
think about it
perceive.
like that.
He took the hint at once.
Hmm.
"He must have been a wonderful man, your father," he exclaimed.
Okay. At least you got some
The
iron.
boy turned, his eyes luminous with feeling. He was perfect. But they,
Oh, we could get some
down
diamond
here,
if we
don't
get
seem to know
some
or care, he choked.
M's. Let's go.
"Oh, but that's because they don't understand," soothed the man. "Now tell me, you must have practiced
Oh,
a lot
shoot,
to play
okay.
like that." "I did, but I liked it." "And what else did you do? And how did you happen to come down here?" Once again David told his story, more fully perhaps this time than ever before, because of the sympathetic ears that were listening. "But now," he finished wistfully, "it's all so different. And
Maybe
I'm
we
down
can
here
try
alone.
Have an idea.
Daddy went, you know, to the far country, and he can't come back from there." "Who told you that?" "Daddy himself. He wrote it to me." "Wrote it to you?" cried the man, sitting suddenly erect. "Yes, it was in his pocket, you see. They found it." David's voice was very low and not quite steady. "David, may I see that letter?"
Hi, Caleb. What's up?
The boy hesitated,
Cody,
then slowly
call you
withdrew
again
it
or
from his
text you?
pocket.
Oh, sick. I got smashed.
"Yes, Mr. Jack.
Oh,
I'll let you
okay.
see it." Reverently, tenderly,
I wonder if that Sky
but very
Bottom was asking
eagerly,
to
the man
team.
took the note and read it through, hoping somewhere to find a name that would help solve the mystery. With a sigh, he handed it back. His eyes were wet.
Cool.
"Thank you, David. That is a beautiful
It is
letter,"
the
he
guy
said
who wants to
softly.
team with me.
"And I believe you'll do
Same
it
guy.
someday, too. You'll go to him with your
This is
violin at your
actually gonna be
chin
kind of funny.
and the bow drawn across the strings to tell him of the beautiful world you have found." "Yes, sir," said David simply. Then, with a
This guy's
suddenly
gonna
radiant
get so
smile,
cooked.
"And now I can't help finding it a beautiful world, you know, 'cause I don't count the hours I don't like." "You don't what?" "Oh, I remember," returned Mr. Jack, a quick change coming to his face. Yes, the sundial, you know,
Cool.
where my Lady of the Roses lives. Jack, what is a sundial?
Cool.
Broke in Jill eagerly. Jack turned as if in relief. Hello, girlie. You there? And so still all this time? Ask David. He'll tell you what a sundial is. Suppose anyhow that you two go out on the piazza now. I got, some work to do. And the sun itself is out, see? Through the trees there. It came out just to say good night, I'm sure. Run along quick.
Are you deck
And he
building right now,
playfully drove
Caleb?
them from
Just
the
a
room.
question. Maybe, maybe not.
Alone, he turned and sat down at his desk. His work was before
What book
him,
is
but
this?
he did
Just
not do
David.
it.
It's for my school.
His eyes were out of the window, on the golden tops of the towers of Sunnycrest.
Can you hear it okay, or should I?
Motionless, he watched them until they turned
What's it
gray
called?
white
Or
in
should
the
I
twilight.
turn
Then
up the
he
volume,
picked up his
or is it
pencil
like
and began
okay?
to write feverishly. He went to the window, however, as David stepped
Right,
off the
I don't know.
veranda and called merrily, "Remember, boy, that when there's another note that baffles me, I'm going to send for you."
Perfect.
"He's coming anyhow. I asked him," announced Jill. And David looked
Okay,
back
so
a happy,
some guy said he had
"Of course
reach,
I am."
but we'll see.
End of chapter
And if
13.
he does, it should be easy to go over to his base and get in. Each.
Chapter 14 of Just David.
People are so
This
funny.
is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more
Fair.
information or to
Oh,
volunteer,
you were just
please
chasing.
visit LibriVox.org.
You just
Recording by
ran.
Mary Anderson.
Ah.
Just David by Eleanor H. Porter. Chapter
That's the most
14.
valid
The Tower
thing ever.
Window. It is not to be expected that when one's thoughts lead so persistently to a certain place,
Ah,
one's feet
did I really
not
just do
follow,
that? I
if they
just
can.
bought up.
And David's could,
In
so he
charge,
went
bro.
to seek
That
his Lady of the
sucks.
Roses. At 4 o'clock one afternoon,
had
with his
no-
violin under his arm, he traveled the
Holy
firm white road
broski,
until he
what?
came to the shadowed path that led to the garden. He had decided that he would go exactly as he went
Okay.
before.
Fair.
He expected, in consequence, to find his lady exactly as he had found her
Fair,
before,
fair. I don't know.
sitting reading under the roses.
Kind of
Great
annoying
was
though.
his surprise and
Ouch, yeah.
disappointment, therefore, to find the garden with no one in it. He had told himself that it was the sundial, the roses, the shimmering pool, the
So
garden
I think he
itself
bought
that
himself a
wanted to
gapple.
see.
I just want to
But he knew
actual
now
PvP this
that
guy.
it was
He's
the
gonna go
lady.
up. Are you kidding me?
His Lady of the Roses. He did
You
not
can
even
go up
care
all
to
you
play,
want.
though all around him was the beauty that had at
You're not
first
gonna win,
so
though.
charmed his eye.
Even if we had the same armor,
Very
you would have
slowly,
gotten
he
cooked.
walked across the sunlit empty space and entered the path that led to the house. In his mind was no definite
Okay, I'm
plan.
just gonna grab a pickaxe
Yet
and
he
maybe
walked
go over to
on
Blue
and
Team's.
on until he came to the wide lawn
Unless
surrounding the house itself. He stopped
Like,
then
he's level
in
100?
trance.
is there a deep slate over there?
Stone
I don't
upon stone,
believe
the
so.
majestic
No.
pile raised itself until it was etched,
So wait, that guy has a
clean
diamond
cut
sword now.
against the deep
Oh, no.
blue of the sky. The towers, his
That's
towers,
not good.
brought to David's lips a cry of delight. They were even more enchanting here
It's really
than
bad.
when seen from afar over the treetops. And David gazed up at them in awed wonder. From somewhere came the sound of music, a curious sort of
I got
music
it, bro.
that
I
David
got it.
had never heard
Bro,
before.
did not see it coming.
He listened intently, trying to place it. Then slowly
Is he coming over right now?
crossed the
No,
lawn,
he's not.
ascended the imposing
Um,
stone steps, and softly opened one of the narrow screen doors before the wide-open French window.
Is he still over there? No, he's
Once
going.
within the room, David drew a long
You
breath
just
of
call me an idiot?
ecstasy. Beneath his feet, he
kinda
felt the
dumb.
velvet softness of the green moss of the woods. Above his head, he saw a sky-like canopy of blue
Lol.
carrying fleecy clouds on which floated little pink and white children with wings. Just as
Hey, we got
David
5
himself
views
had so
already?
often wished that
What?
he could float.
Oh, Lunac came
On
online.
all
Sick.
sides, silken hangings like the green of swaying vines. Half hid, other hangings of feathery snowflake lace.
I'm following you, bro.
Everywhere,
I'm great
mirrored
to
walls
know.
cut the
He's
light
gonna try
and
to
reflected the
block
potted
drop me, isn't he?
ferns and palms, so that David looked down endless vistas of
He
loveliness
wants to get me
that
over
seemed
here.
for all the world like the long,
Oh, he's getting...
sun-flecked
Oh,
aisles
no!
beneath the
Oh,
pines
no!
of his mountain home. The music that David had heard at first had
He's
long
getting a
since
pearl.
stopped, but David had
No,
not noticed that.
bro. This sucks,
He stood
bro.
now in the center of the room, awed and trembling but enraptured. Then from somewhere came a voice so cold that it sounded as if it had swept across a field of ice.
Is he
Well,
still?
boy, when you have quite finished your inspection,
Oh, I hate that
perhaps
so much.
you will tell me
Are you
to what
still
I am
here,
indebted
Cairo?
for this visit, it said.
Who's Cairo?
David turned abruptly. Oh, Lady of the Roses, why didn't you tell me it was like this in here, he breathed. Well, really, murmured the lady in the
Jeez.
doorway stiffly.
Oh, what?
It
That
had not
guy's
occurred
not
to
that
me
good, bro.
that
Easy,
was hardly
good.
necessary.
Good gear
But
advantage.
it was.
Too
Don't
easy,
you
man.
see?
The gear advantage
This is
too
new.
easy. Yeah,
All
I know.
new. I never saw anything
Cody.
like
I
it
don't know if
before.
Cody's still here.
And I do so love new things.
Probably not.
It gives me something new to play. Don't you understand?
I don't know. There's two concurrent viewers,
to
so it's
play?
you and someone else.
Yes, on my violin, explained David, a little breathlessly, softly testing his violin. There's always something new in this, you know, he hurried on, as he tightened one of the strings. When there's anything new outside, now listen. You see, I don't know myself just how it's going to sound, and I'm always so anxious to find out. And with a joyously rapt face, he began to play.
What was that?
But see here, boy, you mustn't.
What was that?
The words died on her lips, and to her unbounded amazement, Miss Barbara Holbrook, who had intended
You
peremptorily
think that's
to send
gonna
this
stop
persistent
me?
little tramp boy about
You
his
think
business,
this is gonna stop me?
found herself listening
You
to a
have no
melody
idea how powerful
so
I am,
compelling
child.
in its sonorous beauty that she was left almost
You have no
speechless
idea.
at its
Shoot,
close.
shoot, shoot.
It was the boy
I need
who
him with
spoke.
the shop. Okay,
There,
that sucks.
I told you my
That guy
violin
just
would know
literally
what to
just
say.
slammed his
What to
everything
say?
to his keyboard.
Well, that's more than I do, laughed Miss Holbrook a little hysterically.
That's hilarious.
Boy, come here and tell me
Okay,
who
he
you
only
are.
got one.
And she led the way
So
to a low
he's
divan
just
that
trying to
stood
go get
near a harp at the
blocks,
far end
which
of
is
the room.
fine with me. Because I'm getting his bed
It was
and
the
him,
same
so I
story
get his
told as
blocks,
David
which is
had told
fine.
it to
It's
Jack
just
and Jill
dandy.
a
It's
few days
amazing.
before.
Okay.
Only
Cody's
this
not
time,
here right now.
David's eyes were
Okay,
roving
cool.
admiringly
How are you?
all about
I
the
assume
room,
you're talking to Cody.
resting oftenness on the harp so near him. Did that make the music that I heard? He asked eagerly, as soon as Miss Holbrook's questions gave him opportunity. It's got strings. Yes, I was playing when you came in. I saw you enter the window. Really, David, are you in habit of walking into people's houses like this? It is most disconcerting to their owners. Yes. No. Well, sometimes. David's eyes were still on the harp. Lady of the Roses, won't you please play again on that? David, you are incorrigible. Why did you come into my house like this? The music said come, and the towers too. You see, I know the towers. You know them? Yes, I can see them from so many places, and I always watch for them. They show best of anywhere, though, from Jack and Jill's. And now, won't you play? Miss Holbrook had almost risen to her feet when she turned abruptly. From where? She asked. From Jack and Jill's, the house that Jack built, you know. You mean Mr. John Guernsey's house? A deeper color had come into Miss Holbrook's cheeks. Yes, over there at the top of the little hill across the brook.
Oh no, it's level 86 guy. The thing is,
you can't see their
you get to
house
level
from
100.
here, but
and
from
then
over there we can see the towers
you can
finely.
just play for as
And
long
the
as
little
you
window.
want to get to level 100.
Oh,
But if
Lady
you're
of the
level
Roses, he broke off excitedly
whatever,
at the new
saying
thought that had
keep
come to him.
clicking,
If we
nice
now
auto,
were in that little window,
and you're
we could see their
then
house.
that means
Let's go up,
they're good.
can't we? Explicit as this was, Miss Holbrook evidently did not hear, or at least did not understand this request. She settled back on the divan, indeed almost
Not again.
determinedly. Her cheeks were very red now. And do you know this Mr. Jack? She asked lightly. Yes, and Jill too. Don't
Thanks.
you? I like them, too. Do you know them? Again, Miss Holbrook ignored the question put to her.
Nah.
And did you
then
walk
just
into
gets
their house
said.
unannounced and uninvited like this? She queried. No, he asked
I'm not
me.
following that kid. I'm
You
way
see,
smarter
he
than
wanted
that.
to get off some of the dirt and blood before other folks saw me. The dirt and why, David, what do you mean? What was it, an accident? David frowned and reflected a moment. No, I did it on purpose. I had to, you see, he finally elucidated. But there were six of them, and I got the worst of it.
Fireball!
Miss Holbrook's voice was horrified. You don't mean a fight? Yes'm. I wanted the cat, and I got it, but I wouldn't have if Mr. Jack hadn't come to help me. Oh, so Mr. Jack fought too? Well, he pulled the others off, and of course that helped me, explained David truthfully. And then he took me home, he and Jill. Jill? Was she in it? No, only her cat. They had tied a bag over its head and a tin can to its tail, and of course I couldn't let them do that. They were hurting her. And now, Lady of the Roses, won't you please play? For a moment, Miss Holbrook did not speak. She was gazing at David with an odd look in her eyes. At last, she drew a long sigh. David, you are the limit, she breathed, as she rose and seated herself at the harp. David was manifestly delighted with her playing, and begged for more when she had finished. But Miss Holbrook shook her head. She seemed to have grown suddenly restless, and she moved about the room, calling David's attention to something new each moment.
There we go.
Then, very abruptly, she suggested that they go upstairs. From room to room she hurried the boy, scarcely listening to his ardent comments or answering his still more ardent questions. Not until they reached the highest tower room, indeed, did she sink wearily into a chair and seem for a moment at rest. David looked about him in surprise. Even his untrained eye could see that he had entered a different world. There were no sumptuous rugs, no silken hangings, no mirrors, no snowflake curtains. There were books, to be sure, but besides those there were only a plain low table, a work basket, and 3 or 4 wooden-seated, though comfortable, chairs. With increasing wonder he looked into Miss Holbrook's eyes. "Is it here that you stay all day?" he asked diffidently. Miss Holbrook's face turned a vivid scarlet. "Why, David, what a question! Of course not. Why should you think I did?" "Nothing. Only I've been wondering all the time I've been here
It's
how
too bad
you
that guy will
could,
have a sword when I
with
fight
all
him.
those beautiful things around you
But
downstairs,
it'll be fine.
say
It'll
what
be
you
easy.
did." "Say what? When?" "That other day in the garden, about all your hours being cloudy ones. So I didn't know today, but what you lived up here, same as Mrs. Holly doesn't use her best rooms, and that was why your hours were all cloudy ones."
Nope.
With a sudden movement, Miss Holbrook rose to her feet. "Nonsense, David. You shouldn't always remember everything that people say to you. Come, you haven't seen one of the views from the windows yet. We are in the larger tower, you know. You can see Hinsdale Village on this side, and there's a fine view of the mountains over there. Oh, yes, and from the other side there's your friend's house, Mr. Jack's. By the way, how is Mr. Jack these days?" Miss Holbrook stooped as she asked the question and picked up a bit of thread from the rug. David ran at once to the window that looked toward the house that Jack built. From the tower, the little house appeared to be smaller than ever. It was in the shadow, too, and looked strangely alone and forlorn. Unconsciously, as he gazed at it, David compared it with the magnificence he had just seen. His voice choked as he answered, "He isn't well, Lady of the Roses, and he's unhappy. He's awfully
It's too
unhappy."
bad that the gray guy is...
Miss Holbrook's slender figure came up with a jerk. "What do you mean, boy? How do you know he's unhappy?
Oh,
Has
man.
he said so?
Ooh, so I'm getting
No,
absolutely
but Mrs. Holly told me about him. He's
closed
sick,
in by some guys.
and he'd just found his work to do out in the world when he had to stop and come home. But, oh, quick, there he is, see? Instead of coming nearer, Miss Holbrook fell back to the center of the room, but her eyes were still turned toward the little house. Yes,
Oh,
I
green
see,
has
she
not
murmured.
really a bed defense.
The next
go
instant,
get
she had
that.
snatched the handkerchief from David's outstretched hand. No, no, I wouldn't wave, she remonstrated hurriedly. Come downstairs
wait, I can
with
get
me.
iron real quick.
But I was sure he was looking this way, asserted David, turning reluctantly from the window. And if he had seen me wave to him, he'd have been so glad, now wouldn't he? There was no answer. The Lady of the Roses did not apparently hear. She had gone on down the stairway.
Okay. Oh,
End
great.
Of chapter 14. Chapter 15 of Just David. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary Anderson. Just David by Eleanor H.
Okay,
Porter.
never mind. That was just another chapter. Okay.
Chapter 15, Secrets.
How much longer do I have?
David had so much to tell Jack and Jill that he went to see them the very next day
2 more
after
hours.
his second visit to
2 more
Sunnycrest.
hours of the stream.
He carried his violin with him. He found, however, only Jill at home. She was
it's the
sitting on the
86th
veranda
level
steps.
guy. At least it's not
There was
behind
not
me.
so much
It's just kind
embarrassment
of
between them
annoying,
this time.
not good, but annoying.
Perhaps because they were in the freedom of the wide out of doors, and David felt more at ease. He was plainly disappointed, however, that Mr. Jack was not there. But I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him specially, he lamented. You'd better stay then. He'll be home by and by, comforted Jill. He's gone pot boiling. Pot boiling? What's that? Jill chuckled. Well, you see, really it's this way. He sells something to boil in other people's pots, so he can have something to boil in ours. He says, it's stuff from the garden, you know. We raise it to sell. Poor Jack, and he does hate it so. David nodded sympathetically. I know, and it must be awful, just hoeing and weeding all the time. Still, of course he knows he's got to do it, because it's out of doors, and he just has to be out of doors all he can, rejoined the girl. He's sick, you know, and sometimes he's so unhappy.
Yes.
He doesn't say much. Jack never says much, only with his face. But I know, and it makes me just want to cry. At David's dismayed exclamation, Jill jumped to her feet. It occurred to her suddenly that she was telling this unknown boy
What? I died from fall damage? Are
you
kidding me?
Secrets. She proposed at once a
Bruh.
race to the foot of the hill, and then, to drive David's mind still farther away from the subject under
You
recent
kidding me?
consideration, she
Are you
deliberately
kidding
lost
me?
and proclaimed him the victor. Very soon, however,
Bro,
there arose
he's
new
a horrible
complications in
person.
the shape of a
Did he
little
get my
gate
stuff on the
that
side
led
of the
to a
cliff? No, I
path,
didn't. I'll just go
which
grab
in
that.
its
Any
turn
diamonds down there?
led to a footbridge
And my
across the
diamonds
narrow
have to
span
fall
of
off.
the
Are you
little
kidding me,
stream.
bro? Are you kidding me?
Above the trees on the other side peeped the top of Sunnycrest's highest tower. To the Lady of the Roses, cried David eagerly. I know it goes there. Come, let's
bye.
see.
Good luck.
The little girl shook her head. I can't. Why not? Jack won't let me. But it goes to a beautiful place. I was there yesterday, argued David. I was up in the tower and almost waved to Mr. Jack in the piazza back there. I saw him, and maybe he'd let you and me go up there again today. But I can't, I say, repeated Jill a little impatiently. Jack won't let me even start.
Bro,
Why
what
not?
is this guy with his
Maybe he
random
doesn't know
stuff?
where it goes to.
He keeps getting like the best
Jill
things.
hung her head. Then she raised it defiantly. Oh, yes, he does, 'cause I told him.
His stuff is
I
way
used
too
to go
OP,
when I
bro.
was littler and he wasn't here. I went once after he came, halfway, and he saw me and called to me. I had got halfway across the bridge, but I had to come back. He was very angry, yet
The
sort of
gear,
queer,
bro.
too.
Come on.
His face
bro.
was all stern and white, and his lips snapped tight shut after every word. He said never, never, never to let him find me on the other side of that gate. David frowned as they turned to go up the hill. Unhesitatingly, he determined to instruct Mr. Jack in this little matter.
No.
He would tell him what a beautiful place Sunnycrest was, and he would try to convince him how very desirable it was that he and Jill, and even Mr. Jack himself, should go across the bridge at the very first opportunity that offered. Mr. Jack came home before long, but David quite forgot to speak of the footbridge just then, chiefly because Mr. Jack got out his violin and asked David to come in and play a duet with him. The duet, however, soon became a solo, for so great was Mr. Jack's delight in David's playing that he placed before the boy one sheet of music after another, begging and still begging for more. David, nothing loath, played on and on. Most of the music he knew, having already learned it in his mountain home. Like old friends the melodies seemed, and so glad was David to see their notes again that he finished each production with a little improvised cadenza of ecstatic welcome, to Mr. Jack's increasing surprise and delight.
Bro, he's gonna get like.
Great Scott,
you have
you're
something?
a wonder, David, he exclaimed at last. Pooh, as if that was anything wonderful, laughed the boy. Why, I knew those ages ago, Mr. Jack. It's only that I'm so glad to see them again. The notes, you know. You see, I haven't
What?
any music
When did he get
now.
a sword? Okay.
It was all in the bag, what we brought,
So sad.
and we left
so
that
sad.
on the way. You left it? Yes, 'twas so heavy, murmured David abstractedly, his fingers busy with the pile of music before him. Oh, and here's another one, he cried exultingly. This is where the wind sighs.
No way, bro. Actually did that to
through the
himself.
pines. Listen. And he was away again on the wings of his violin. When he had returned, Mr. Jack
Marvelous.
drew a long breath.
Marvelous, I tell you.
David, you are a wonder, he declared again. And that violin of yours is a wonder, too. If I'm not mistaken, though I don't know enough to tell whether it's really a rare one or not. Was it your father's? Oh, no. He had one, too. And they both are good ones. Father said so. Joe's got father's now. Joe? Joe Glaspell. You don't mean Widow Glaspell's Joe, the blind boy? I didn't know he could play. He couldn't till I showed him, but he likes to hear me play, and he understood right away, I mean. Understood? What I was playing, you know, and he was almost the first one that did since Father went away, and now I play every time I go there. Joe says he never knew before how trees and grass and sunsets and sunrises and birds and little brooks did look till I told him with my violin. Now he says he thinks he can see them better than I can, because as long as his outside eyes can't see anything, they can't see those ugly things all around him. And so he just make his inside eyes see only the beautiful things that he'd like to see. And that's the kind he does see when I play. That's why I said he understood. For a moment, there was silence. In Jack's eyes, there was an odd look as they rested on David's face. Then abruptly he spoke. David, I wish I had money. I'd put you where you belonged, he sighed. Do you mean where I'd find my work to do? Asked the boy softly. Well, yes, you might say it that way, smiled the man. After a moment's hesitation, not yet was Mr. Jack quite used to this boy, who was at times so very unboylike. Father told me 'twas waiting for me somewhere. Mr. Jack frowned thoughtfully. And he was right, David. The only trouble is, we like to pick it out for ourselves pretty well. Too well, as we find out sometimes when we're called off for another job. I know, Mr. Jack. I know, breathed David. And the man looking into the glowing dark eyes wondered at what he found there. It was almost as if the boy really understood about his own life's disappointment and cared. Though that, of course, could not be. And it's all the harder to keep ourselves in tune then, too, isn't it? Went on David a little wistfully. In tune with the rest of the orchestra. Oh. And Mr. Jack, who had already heard about the orchestra of life, smiled a bit sadly. That's just it, my boy. And if we're handed another instrument to play on than the one we want to play on, we're apt to let fly a discord. Anyhow, I am. But, he went on more lightly, now in your case, David, little as I know about the violin, I know enough to understand that you ought to be where you can take up your study of it again, where you can hear good music, and where you can be among those who know enough to appreciate what you do. David's eyes sparkled. And where there wouldn't be any pulling weeds or hoeing dirt? Well, I hadn't thought of including either of those pastimes. My, but I would like that, Mr. Jack. But that wouldn't be work, so that couldn't be what Father meant. David's face fell. Well, I wouldn't worry about the work part, laughed Mr. Jack, particularly as you aren't going to do it just now. There's the money, you know, and we haven't got that. And it takes money? Well, yes. You can't get those things here in Hinsdale, you know. And it takes money to get away and to live away after you get there. A sudden light transfigured David's face. Mr. Jack, would gold do it? Lots of little round gold pieces?
Good,
I think
good.
it would, David, if there were enough of them. Many as 100? Sure, if they were big enough. Anyway, David, they'd start you. And I'm thinking you wouldn't need but a start before you'd be coining gold pieces of your own out of that violin of yours. But why? Anybody you know got as many as 100 gold pieces he wants to get rid of? For a moment, David, his delighted thoughts flying to the gold pieces in the chimney cupboard of his room, was tempted to tell his secret. Then he remembered the woman with the bread and the pail of milk, and decided not to. He would wait. When he knew Mr. Jack better, perhaps then he would tell, but not now. Now Mr. Jack might think he was a thief, and that he could not bear. So he took up his violin and began to play. And in the charm of the music, Mr. Jack seemed to forget the gold pieces, which was exactly what David had intended should happen.
Okay.
Not until David had said goodbye sometime later did he remember the purpose, the special purpose for which he had come.
Oh my goodness, how do they
He
have
turned back with a radiant face.
all this stuff, bro?
Oh, and Mr. Jack,
your
I
boy
most forgot,
faster.
he cried. I was going to tell you. I saw you yesterday. I did, and I almost waved to you. Did you? Where were you? Over there, in the window. The tower window, he crowed jubilantly. Oh, you went again then, I suppose, to see Miss Holbrook? The man's voice sounded so oddly cold and distant that David noticed it at once. He was reminded suddenly of the gate and the footbridge which Jill was forbidden to cross. But he dared not speak of it then, not when Mr. Jack looked like that. He did say, however, "Oh, but Mr. Jack, it's such a beautiful place. You don't know what a beautiful place it is." Is it? Then you like it so much? Oh, so much. But didn't you ever see it? Why, yes, I believe I did, David, long ago, murmured Mr. Jack, with what seemed to David amazing indifference. And did you see her, my Lady of the Roses? Why, yes, I believe so. And is that all you remember about it? Resented David, highly offended. The man gave a laugh, a little short, hard laugh that David did not like. But let me see. You said you almost waved, didn't you? Why didn't you quite? Asked the man. David drew himself suddenly erect.
Oh, sick, I got 2 likes on
he
it.
felt
How
that
fun.
his Lady of the Roses needed defense. Because she didn't want me to, so I didn't, of course, he rejoined with dignity. She took away my handkerchief. I'll warrant she did, muttered the man behind his teeth. Aloud, he only laughed again as he turned away. David went on down the steps, dissatisfied vaguely with himself, with Mr. Jack, and even with the Lady of the Roses. End of chapter 15.
Cool. So wait, who's the concurrent viewer right now?
Chapter 16 of Just David. This is a LibriVox
Is it Lotan or is it Codes?
All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
Well, we'll see.
For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary Anderson. Just David by Eleanor H. Porter. Chapter 16, David's Castle in Spain.
If you could,
On
if
his
you'd
return
like to,
from the
comment,
house
though,
that
but
Jack
I don't know.
built, David decided to count his gold pieces.
Just
He got
curious.
them out at once from behind the books and stacked them up in little shining rows. As he had surmised, there were 100 of them. There were indeed 106. He was pleased at that. 106 were surely enough to give him a start. A start! David closed his eyes and pictured it. To go on with his violin, to hear good music, to be with people who understood what he said when he played. That was what Mr. Jack had said a start was. And this gold, these round, shining bits of gold, could bring him this. David swept the little piles into a jingling heap and sprang to his feet with both fists full of his suddenly beloved wealth. With boyish glee, he capered about the room, jingling the coins in his hands. Then very soberly he sat down again and began to gather the gold to put away. He would be wise. He would be sensible. He would watch his chance, and when it came, he would go away. First, however, he would tell Mr. Jack and Joe, and the Lady of the Roses. Yes, and the Hollies, too. Just now there seemed to be work, real work that he could do to help Mr. Holly. But later, possibly when September came in school, they had said he must go to school. He would tell them then and go away instead. He would see. By that time they would believe him, perhaps, when he showed the gold pieces. They would not think he had stolen them. It was August now. He would wait. But meanwhile he could think. He could always be thinking of the wonderful thing that this gold was one day to bring him. Even work, to David, did not seem work now. In the morning he was to rake hay behind the men with the cart. Yesterday he had not liked it very well. But now, nothing mattered now. And with a satisfied sigh, David put his precious gold away again behind the books in the cupboard. David found a new song in his violin the next morning. To be sure, he could not play it, much of it, until 4 o'clock in the afternoon came. For Mr. Holly did not like violins to be played in the morning, even on days that were not especially the Lord's. There was too much work to do. So David could only snatch a strain or two very, very softly while he was dressing, but that was enough to show him what a beautiful song it was going to be. He knew what it was at once, too. It was the gold pieces and what they would bring. All through the day it tripped through his consciousness and danced tantalizingly just out of reach. Yet he was wonderfully happy, and the day seemed short in spite of the heat and the weariness. At 4 o'clock he hurried home and put his violin quickly in tune. It came then, that dancing sprite of tantalization, and joyously abandoned itself to the strings of the violin, so that David knew of a surety what a beautiful song it was. It was this song that sent him the next afternoon to see his Lady of the Roses. He found her this time out of doors in her garden. Unceremoniously as usual, he rushed headlong into her presence. "Oh, Lady, Lady of the Roses," he panted. "I've found out, and I came quickly to tell you." "Why, David, what do you mean?" Miss Holbrook looked unmistakably startled. "About the hours, you know, the unclouded ones," explained David eagerly. You know, you said they were all cloudy to you. Miss Holbrook's face grew very white. You mean you found out why my hours are all cloudy ones, she stammered. No. Oh, no, I can't imagine why they are, returned David with an emphatic shake of his head. It's just that I've found a way to make all my hours sunny ones, and you can do it too, so I came to tell you. You know you said yours were all cloudy. Oh, ejaculated Miss Holbrook, falling back into her old listless attitude. Then with some asperity, Dear me, David, didn't I tell you not to be remembering that all the time? Yes, I know, but I've learned something, urged the boy. Something that you ought to know. You see, I did think once that because you had all these beautiful things around you,
Bro,
the hours ought to all be sunny ones. But now I know it isn't what's around
up
you.
with this texture pack?
It's what's in you.
Sorry, not texture
Oh,
pack.
David,
Goodness.
David, you
It's
curious
just, like,
boy.
weird.
No, but really, let me tell you, pleaded David. You know I haven't liked all those hours till 4 o'clock came, and I was so glad after I saw the sundial to find out that they didn't count anyhow.
Oh, let's go,
But
Crystal.
today they have counted.
Oh, let's go.
They've all counted, Lady of the Roses, and it's just because there was something inside of me that shone and shone and made them all sunny, those hours. Dear me, and what was this wonderful thing? David smiled, but he shook his head. I can't tell you that yet, in words, but I'll play it.
Let's go again.
You see, I can't always play them twice alike, those little songs that I find, but this one I can. It sang so long in my head before my violin had a chance to tell me what it really was,
Come here.
that I sort of learned it. Now listen. And he began to play. It was indeed a beautiful song, and Miss Holbrook said so with promptness and enthusiasm. Yet still David frowned. Yes, yes, he answered, but don't you see? That was telling you about something inside of me that made all my hours sunshiny ones.
I totally popped his totem.
Now what you want is something inside of you to make yours sunshiny too. Don't you see? An odd look came into Miss Holbrook's eyes.
The
That's
runners
all
are
very well
horrible.
for you to say, David, but you haven't told me yet, you know, just what it is that's made all this brightness for you.
Oh, dang it.
The boy changed his position and puckered his forehead into a deeper frown. I don't seem to explain so you can understand, he sighed. It isn't the special thing, it's only that it's something.
Oh, no.
And it's thinking
great.
about it that
I
does
didn't
it.
want the explosive blow.
Now
Oh, it's
mine
horrible.
wouldn't make yours shine, but still, he broke off, a happy relief in his eyes. Yours could be like mine in one way. Mine is something that is going to happen to me. Something just beautiful. And you could have that, you know.
Okay.
Something that was going to happen to you to think about.
Guess I
Miss
could hit
Holbrook
it.
smiled, but only with her lips. Her eyes had grown somber. But there isn't anything just beautiful going to happen to me, David, she demurred. There could, couldn't there? Miss Holbrook bit her lip. Then she gave an odd little laugh that seemed in some way to go with the swift red that had come to her cheeks. I used to think there could once, she admitted. But I've given that up long ago. It didn't happen. But couldn't you just think it was going to? Persisted the boy. You see, I found out yesterday it's the thinking that does it. All day long I was thinking, only thinking. I wasn't doing it at all. I was really raking behind the cart, but the hours all were sunny. Miss Holbrook laughed now outright. What a persistent little mental science preacher you are, she exclaimed. And there's truth, more truth than you know, in it all, too.
That's weird.
But I can't do it, David. Not that. Not that. 'Twould take more than thinking to bring that, she added under her breath, as if to herself. But thinking does bring things, maintained David earnestly. There's Joe Glassbell.
Come here, bud.
His mother works out all day, and he's blind. Blind?
Okay.
Oh, shuddered Miss Holbrook. Yes, and he has to stay all alone except for Betty, and she isn't there much. He thinks all his things. He has to. He can't see anything with his outside eyes, but he sees everything with his inside eyes, everything that I play. Why, Lady of the Roses, he's even seen this. All this here. I told him about it, you know, right away after I'd found you that first day.
Don't run, buddy.
The big trees, and the long shadows across
Okay.
the grass, and the roses, and the shining water, and the lovely marble people peeping through the green leaves, and the sundial, and you, so beautiful, sitting here in the middle of it all. Then I played it for him, and he said he could see it all just
Okay.
as plain,
Hitting me is an
and
improvement.
that was with his inside eyes. And so if Joe, shut up there in his dark little room, can make
Easy.
his think bring him all that, I should think that you, here in this beautiful, beautiful place, could make your think bring you anything you wanted it to. But Miss Holbrook sighed again and shook her head. Not that, David.
Okay.
Not that, she murmured.
So
It would
what we do
take
here
more
is,
than
while
thinking
he's
to
breaking our
bring
stuff.
that. Then, with a quick change of manner, she cried, Come, come, suppose we don't worry any more about my hours. Let's think of yours. Tell me, what have you been doing since I saw you last? Perhaps you have been again to see Mr. Jack, for instance? I have, but I saw Jill mostly till the last. David hesitated. Then he blurted it out. Lady of the Roses, do you know about the
I
gate
should
and
have
the footbridge?
put down stuff.
Miss Holbrook looked up quickly. Know what, David? Know about them, that they're there? Why,
Okay,
yes,
GGs.
of course. At least, I suppose you mean the footbridge that crosses the little stream at the foot of the hill over there?
That was kind of stupid. Why did
That's
it build
the
up?
one. Again, David hesitated,
Oh well.
and
then,
again
oh
he
well.
blurted out the burden of his thoughts. Lady of the Roses, did you ever cross that bridge? Miss Holbrook stirred uneasily. Not recently. But you don't mind folks crossing it? Certainly not, if they wish to. There, I knew 'twasn't your blame, triumphed David. My blame? Yes, that Mr. Jack wouldn't let Jill come across, you know. He called her back when she'd got halfway over once. Miss Holbrook's face changed color. But I do object, she cried sharply, to their crossing it when they don't want to. Don't forget that, please. But Jill did want to. How about her brother? Did he want her to? No. Very well, then, I didn't either. David frowned. Never had he seen his beloved Lady of the Roses look like this before. He was reminded of what Jill had said about Jack. His face was all stern and white, and his lips snapped tight shut after every word. So,
Try
too,
and get him to
looked
break
Miss
the blocks
Holbrook's
below us
face.
now.
So, too, had her lips snapped tight shut after her last words.
Oh, he did break
David
it.
could not understand it. He said nothing more, however, but as was usually the case when he was perplexed, he picked up his violin and began to play.
Bro, what the heck?
And as he played, there
Bro, you
gradually
ate your
came to Miss
apple. Are
Holbrook's
you
eyes
kidding me, bro?
a softer
It's because my
light,
creepers got you.
and to her lips
Oh,
lines less tightly drawn.
that makes me so happy.
Neither the footbridge nor Mr. Jack, however, was mentioned again that afternoon. End of chapter 16.
No way, the creeper trap actually got you, bro.
Chapter 17 of Just David. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary Anderson. Chapter 17. The Princess and the Pauper.
Nice, buddy.
It was in the early twilight that Mr. Jack told the story.
Trying to
He,
steal my stuff,
Jill,
bro.
and David were on the veranda, as usual, watching the
Throw away your
towers of
snowballs, I bet.
Sunnycrest turn from gold to silver as the sun dropped behind the hills. It was Jill who had
Get in
asked
there.
for the story. About fairies
dear.
and princesses, you know, she had ordered. But how will David like that? Mr. Jack had demurred. Maybe he doesn't care for fairies and princesses. I read once about a prince. 'Twas The Prince and the Pauper, and I liked that, averred David stoutly.
You don't see me.
Mr.
You don't
Jack
even know where I am.
smiled. Then his brows drew together in a frown. His eyes were moodily fixed on the towers. Well, he said, I might,
The heck? Why
I
is there a hole there?
suppose, tell you a story about a princess and a pauper.
Oh, right. So he's
I know
half
one
dead.
well enough. Good, then tell it, cried both Jill and David. And Mr. Jack began his story. She was not always a princess, and he was not always a pauper. And that's where the story came
Milky
in,
cereal.
I
Cool name.
suppose, sighed the man. She was just a girl once, and he was a boy, and they played together and liked each other.
Ow.
He lived in a little house on a hill. Like this? Demanded Jill.
Lunch.
Oh,
It's
yes,
hilarious.
something like this,
I
returned
love
Mr.
it when
Jack
stuff
with
happens
an odd
like
half
this.
smile. And she lived in another bit of a house in a town far away
Come
from
on,
the boy.
Come here, Trident. I
Then how
need
could they
you.
play together? Questioned David. They couldn't, always. It was only summers when she came
Wait,
to visit in the
she
boy's
ate a gap.
cabin.
Okay.
She was
Easy
very
though.
near
I
him
don't
then,
think she did. Never
for
mind.
the old aunt
Okay, guys.
whom she visited
After this one, I think
lived
is
in
my
a
last
big
one.
stone
So
house with towers on another
unless I
hill.
lose, then I have to prove
plain
myself because I
sight from
probably
the
was
boy's
doing something
home.
dumb if I lost.
Towers like those? Where the Lady of the Roses lives? Asked David.
Are you going up?
Eh?
That felt
What?
so laggy. I'm gonna lag like 3 times.
Yes,
in
murmured
this.
Mr. Jack. We'll say the towers were something like those over there. He paused,
Easy.
then went on musingly. The girl used to signal sometimes from one of
Goodbye,
the
my
tower
one
windows.
concurrent viewer, and hopefully
One
you
wave
have
of the
a
handkerchief
great
meant,
day.
I'm coming over.
Oh, I
Two
know, it's
waves
the wrong
with a
one.
little
Actually,